The Brooklyn Nets are doomed to fail their goal of winning an NBA championship this season, and they're also failed to do so in the near to far future. It's crazy to say this, as just earlier this past season, before the season started, they were the championship favorites. But hold on, how is that possible? The Brooklyn Nets have one of the very best rosters in the entire NBA if you look at it on paper, and there's great news on the horizon as Kevin Durant is reportedly going to be returning to the Brooklyn Nets this coming season. Well, let me just explain. So let's start with the most recent news, which is that Kevin Durant is reportedly returning to the Brooklyn Nets next season, ending his over month-long trade saga. But after a meeting with Nets owner Joe Tsai, he has reportedly agreed to stay with the Brooklyn Nets, and they will continue their partnership into next season, in which his $196 million contract extension will kick in. So now when you look at their roster, they have Kevin Durant, they still have Kyrie Irving on their roster, obviously with the addition of Ben Simmons coming in from the James Harden trade. And they also made the additions of TJ Warren and Royce O'Neal in the offseason, plus they still had some solid role players around those guys already. All this makes them championship contenders on paper, right? Well, not exactly. And there are multiple reasons why. So let's go back to last season, in which the Nets were exposed in the NBA playoffs versus the Boston Celtics, where they were swept out of the first round. And there were many reasons for this. Number one, there was poor coaching on display by head coach Steve Nash, who did not have any prior coaching experience prior to being the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Specifically, his inability to adjust to a tough defensive scheme by the Boston Celtics was very apparent in this playoff series. The Boston Celtics' tough defense limited Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in this series, and they were sort of held in check throughout all 4 games of that first round matchup. And then another reason that they fell to the Celtics in the first round was drama off the court, which leads me to my next point, which is drama. The Brooklyn Nets have drama. Kevin Durant is a drama queen. He has become the most front-running, most annoying player in the NBA, arguably right now, especially with this recent trade request. It seems like Kevin Durant always has an issue. There's always something going on with him, whether it's beefing with people on Twitter, whether it's not being satisfied with his teammates, with his coaches, whatever it may be. It seems like he's always got a problem with somebody. And then, of course, the player rivaling Kevin Durant for the most annoying player in the NBA right now is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, you never really 100% know if he's going to show up, but Kyrie Irving is obviously he's in his own little world over here, and obviously I think Kyrie Irving's a good person, he's a good dude, and he really wants to make a difference in this world, but he also doesn't have basketball as his center focus, and when you're an NBA basketball player, that's kind of important. So I think that's one thing to think about with Kyrie Irving, and he causes a lot of drama within the locker room. That was part of the reason that James Harden ended up requesting a trade last season, which brought in a guy by the name of Ben Simmons, who has caused quite a bit of drama on his own. Obviously, his whole trade saga with the Philadelphia 76ers after passing up a dunk that would have tied the game in Game 7 versus the Atlanta Hawks in the 2021 NBA playoffs. The entire thing that came after that, Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid criticism from him, and then Ben Simmons holding out, refusing to come back, whining, complaining, pouting, crying. He has continued that into last season, where it was reported that he would play in Game 4 versus the Boston Celtics after getting to the Brooklyn Nets, not playing a single game, being injured. I'm not going to question that he was injured, but I just would like to know how, because he wasn't playing basketball is all I'm saying. And then he ends up not playing in Game 4 and the Boston Celtics sweep the Brooklyn Nets. That's a lot of drama. That's probably the top 3 drama-causing players in the NBA, all in the same roster right there. And then you have to take into consideration some injury concerns. Obviously, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have missed time over the past couple seasons with injuries themselves. Kyrie Irving has played less games with the Brooklyn Nets in 3 seasons than he did with the Boston Celtics in 2 seasons. And then you have Ben Simmons, who's coming off that back injury, which we don't really know how that happened, but it happened. He had surgery for it, so he's coming off that. And then you have TJ Warren, who hasn't really played at all the past 2 seasons. So that's a lot of injury problems right there when you look at the Brooklyn Nets. And then here's something else to consider, and this comes from the recent news of Kevin Durant returning to the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant might not be fully invested in this team. Obviously, he just requested a trade, and that whole thing led on for like a month and a half, and there were reports flying left and right about which teams could potentially trade for Kevin Durant and which teams Kevin Durant was interested in. He might not be fully invested in that team, and if things go south, it could lead to a lot of drama within that Brooklyn Nets locker room. And there's a lot of pressure for the Brooklyn Nets as well to win right now. They have a limited amount of picks with the James Harden trade and all the trades that they've made over the past couple seasons. So the pressure to win now is already on. Their stars are aging. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving specifically, they're up there in their 30s at this point. And if they underperform, like I just said, Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving may request a trade once again. You never really know with the way the NBA is going. Players have so much power, you can't really predict what players are going to do, but if a player requests a trade, it is up to the organization, like we just saw, to convince that player to stay. If the player wants to get traded and he is dead set on it, we saw with the Ben Simmons scenario last season, they will get traded at some point. It's just a matter of how long. So in short, I do not see the Nets as a true championship contender this season. I don't think that it's a realistic thought that they could come out of the East and win the championship. Of course, the Nets would be a playoff team with one of the better rosters in the league, but there's so many outside factors when looking at the Brooklyn Nets roster, whether it's the drama or the injury problems or one of the other things that I listed earlier in this video. There's so many variables to where the Brooklyn Nets even finish in their seeding in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, all that stuff comes back to bite you, and I just don't see the Brooklyn Nets as a true threat to win the championship. And looks like Kevin Durant is not going anywhere from this recent report, which, as a Sixers fan, kind of makes me happy. I mean, obviously there are reports talking about him potentially coming to the Sixers, but I secretly am very, very happy that I don't have to listen to Tyrese Maxey trade scenarios anymore, because that's my guy. So that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. If you did enjoy, subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. I cover the NBA, NFL, Philadelphia Eagles, and Philadelphia 76ers on this channel. And comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Let me know why. And follow me over on Instagram and Twitter for more awesome content over there. And of course, drop a like on this video to help push it out to other people. That would be greatly appreciated if you did enjoy the video. And with that being said, it's pretty much all I got. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.